Okay, my name's Tanna. I'm a heroin addict.
Hi, Tanna.
Are we gonna leave the lights on or off?
Do you want them?
Yeah. Okay. I was born in Washington, Longview, Washington. My dad was a Vietnam vet, and he raised me by himself because my mom didn't want me. She wanted to party. She was a huge partier. So he was a single dad. When he was in Vietnam, he got shot by a sniper 3 times, and he got shot in the leg, the left leg, below the knee. He got shot in the back, and he got shot through one hip and went out the other side. Well, he survived, obviously, and like a couple years after that, before I was born, obviously, he had to have his leg cut off because it got gangrene in it really bad. So he had an artificial leg, and he was still really healthy and everything. He got around really good, and he worked really hard. He was a really hard worker, but he had a lot of problems, like mental problems from it that he never got counseling for or anything. So he drank a lot and would have flashbacks, and he would get really violent, and he didn't know who I was, and that happened quite a lot. I just learned to when he would start drinking, I would just learn to cope with it and to just get along with him, or I just learned how to deal with it. But let's see. He he gave my mom a chance to raise me when I was 7. And he took me to Montana to live with her on an Indian reservation. And she abandoned me in this house, and the neighbor came and got me, and I had to stay with him for a whole month before my dad came and found me. And but after that we came back to Oregon, and my dad was a really good dad, but he just had a lot of problems. He suffered from a lot of mental problems from the war. And after that, I didn't see my mom again until I was 12 or 11 or 12. A lot of things happened between 11 and 12 years old, and it's all probably not in order how I'm going to say it, but it all happened. He bought me a bunch of brand new school clothes and moved everything I had from a little girl up to Washington to live with my mom. And I didn't know this, but she was addicted to crack cocaine at the time, and she stayed in her room a lot. But I didn't know what she was doing. And then one day, she had bought me this leather jacket, and I went to go wear it, and it was gone. And it turned out that she had, this is the only thing she ever bought me. It turned out that she traded it for drugs. And I was kind of mad. I was just what is she doing? It's so more important than me, So I demanded I wouldn't smoke crack with her. I want to smoke crack. I want to be on your level. Get me high. Let's do it. So we did. She got me high on crack when I was 11, and I was addicted right away. I was it was just so obliviously gone. It was I have a daughter that's 11, and I couldn't even imagine her smoking crack. It was horrible. And then after that, there was these drug dealers that lived down the street, and she would send me down there to trade sex for drugs. And I was 11, and that happened at least 2 or 3 times a week. And then after that, she had these 2 friends, this older couple, that kidnapped me and took me to a hotel room and injected me with cocaine. And I just remember being on the bed and hot tears rolling down my face, and I couldn't move. And I remember him just sitting there on the bed, just rubbing on my face. And then the lady came out of the bathroom naked, and bleeding everywhere because she was trying to hit a vein and she didn't have any left. And I just never could get that picture out of my head, ever. Just like her just trying to hit a vein and just naked and blood everywhere. I was like, oh my God, just looking at her. But I couldn't move, but I would look over and there she was. And after being injected with cocaine, they dropped me off at this boyfriend I had up there, and he didn't know what was going on. And but his parents did. They knew there was something wrong with me. So I left their house, and I was just running the streets. I had pajamas on. I had like this blue silk pajama top on with like pants, and like I don't even know what kind of shoes I had on. But I remember not really knowing where I was. But I went to this dope dealer's house that my mom was actually at, and they were trying to get me to smoke crack to calm down, but they wouldn't let me shoot drugs. But they wanted me to smoke crack. And I was like, I was crying, and I'm smoking crack, and I'm crying, and I'm crying, and I just couldn't stop crying. And then the next morning, my dad came, and my dad was going to kill them all. He was so mad. And my mom was like, don't do anything stupid, Tom. Just take Tanna and get out of here. So with everything that I had from a little girl was gone. Pictures, baby pictures, every little thing, jewelry boxes, clothes, it was all gone. I had like a garbage bag full of clothes. And that's what I came back to Oregon with. And my dad, we just didn't talk about it. He goes, Tanna, we're just not going to talk about it. And that was that. It was like, pretend nothing ever happened. And so that would explain the way I was for the rest of my life. I was an addict from then on out. And everything, let me take a little look at my notes here. Everything went really good for a while, for a couple years. And then I met, I was 12 when I came back. I met my oldest son, or my only son, Jade's dad, Alex. I met him when I was 14, and he was 20. And he, like just a couple months after I got with him, I got pregnant with Jade. And then Alex obviously quit talking to me after that. And when I had Jade, my dad was really upset, but he was happy after he was born, because he had a grandson and whatever. But I was really depressed after I had Jade. I had him 2 months early, and he only weighed 3 pounds. And he was at that hospital up in Portland. He was up there for like 2.5 months. And I had to use a breast pump and freeze milk, and I'm only 14. I'm like using this hand pump in my room. And I shriveled up to like 90 pounds. It was horrible, and I was so depressed. And then he came home, and then I was even more depressed because all my friends were, driving by, having fun, and I'm at home with this kid, and it sucked. But I snapped out of it. And started smoking weed and drinking a lot and staying home with Jade. And I went and got my GED, and my dad worked. I lived with my dad and Jade, and everything was going pretty good. Jade was in kindergarten when I got my first job at the barbecue pit. And then I really started drinking really hard. Every time I'd get off work, I would go to the bars. I wouldn't come home. I'd come home to change, go back to work, and do the same thing. I was a really bad alcoholic, too. That's because my dad was like, every time that we had feelings of any kind, it was like, have a beer. You're happy, have a beer. If you're sad, have a beer. If you're mad, have a beer. You need a beer, Tanna. We need a beer. Get us a beer. That's how it was with him. So that's how I just dealt with my problems. See, Alex is very abusive. He used to beat me. We got back together, actually, after Jade was like 3 or 4. I guess we did get back together for a little bit, and we started smoking crack. I didn't know that he was a cocaine dealer at the time when I was 14, so we started doing that. And that just was out of control for a couple years. And, jeez, what happened? Hold on here. I don't know. It's just like from 21 to 30, all I did was drink and get high. Drink and get high. That's all I did. And I was just with Alex and different guys that were drug dealers. And that was basically, that was that. And then I met my, well, wait, I forgot. I had another daughter named Layla. When 17 years ago, I had her, and I was addicted to crack. I was actually with Alex during that time, but I left him to be with another drug dealer, and he took care of me and kept me supplied with crack cocaine my whole pregnancy. Never went to the doctor. She was born addicted to crack, and they took her at the hospital. But I was able to get clean after that. They took her, and I had her back in 3 months. They didn't take Jade, but they took Layla. And it was after I got her back, I got in a really bad car accident. I got a DUI with both my kids in a car, and then they took them both. They didn't hurt anybody. I hit a parked car, but I could have killed my kids. It was I was really drunk. I had no business to be driving at all. So after that, they told me, I didn't call and tell DHS that, because I still had an open case, that I got in a car accident, but they found out and they called me and they told me, bring your kids in or we can come get them. So I brought them in. And then after that, I went to Renaissance Recovery Treatment in Kaiser for the DUI. And I would go there to my groups, and on the way home, I would stop by the liquor store, and I would get a fifth, and I would go home and I would drink it by myself in my apartment. That's what I did every night. Because the UAs back then that DHS had me take or whatever didn't test for alcohol, and so I quit everything else, but I was always just an alcoholic still. And let's see, I got my kids back, and by now Jade's like 11 or 12, and he's starting to act up. He's starting to smoke weed. He's starting to run away a lot. And at that time, I was ready to settle down and stay home and be a good mom. But that boy just ran crazy. Crazy. And I tried to make things, I parented out of guilt with him a lot. For years, I did that. Let's see, I lived on Boone Road for like 9 years with Jade and Layla. And eventually Layla's dad, I started smoking crack again after like 5 years, and Layla's dad got custody of her, permanent custody of her. I haven't seen her in 9 years. Let's see, after that. And then I got pregnant with I met the girls' dad. My daughter, Dominique and Ruby. I had with the girls' dad, who was also a drug dealer when I first met him. And I didn't even really like him, but I was just with him because he supplied drugs. But then we had the 2 girls, and I loved the girls a lot. And I tried really hard to stay clean. I did stay clean for like 5 years, but I continued to drink. And then eventually the drinking led me to smoking crack again. One night I just got so drunk, I'm like, well, screw this, I'm gonna get high. I'm gonna snap out of this and not be drunk anymore. And then that went on. I had like a couple isolated incidents where I would just smoke like all night or something, and then I would be okay, recover, then I'd be okay, and I wouldn't do it again. But I had to move out of the house on Boone Road. And so I thought that I would just do a little bit of meth, so I could pack all my stuff up. And I never stopped using it. And we moved out Jade was in prison, and I moved out to an apartment with the girls, and the meth use got out of control. And then I started using opiates to deal with the meth, to try to come off the meth. And the whole time I'm still drinking. And I went like that for like 3 years until my dad got really sick, and he died. And my dad died 3 years ago, a couple days before Christmas, and that's when I went to Rite Aid and got a box of syringes and started slamming meth. And after that, I never stopped. I couldn't stop. I didn't care. I took as many pills as I possibly could, slammed as much meth as I possibly could, until I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to numb the pain. But nothing really helped. My life was like, I was losing everything. I was losing all my stuff. I was like selling my TV, our computer, the girls' tablets, printers. We had so much stuff, and I ended up like selling it all, or Jade did. When things just disappeared. And then I'll just talk a little bit about my son for a second. Like, it was like, is it possible to love somebody so much that it's unhealthy? That's how it was with him. I like enabled him so much. It was really hard when he went to prison. He after my dad died, Jade really got bad too into drugs, and he ended up getting 13 years for 3 attempted murders. And then 2 weeks after that, my dad died, my son was going to prison for 13 years, and I really lost it. I was just I knew something bad was going to happen to me. I was going to lose the girls, or I was going to die, or both. But I fell asleep. I got in a big fight with the girls' dad, and I fell asleep cooking noodles on the stove. I had taken like a big Annex. Annex? Is that what it's called? Annex. Xanax. Yeah. And it knocked me out. But I fell asleep cooking noodles, and I heard pounding on the door. And I was in the back bedroom with the girls. It was like a weird apartment because the bedroom was over here, and then way down this long hallway, and on the other side, on the very end of the apartment, was the kitchen. And the fire department's pounding on my door. They're ready to bust it down, and the whole apartment's full of smoke. And I jumped up. My daughter woke me up, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? I didn't know I was in the bathroom trying to slam some meth to wake up when the fire department came in. I didn't even know I had been doing that, but they found a bunch of needles in the bathroom and in the toilet, and asked me what they were, what was in them. And I got charged with possession of meth. And they took the girls away that night at 4 o'clock in the morning. They took them to my friend Bob's house in Sublimity. And I still didn't get clean after that. I kept using and I kept drinking. DHS was involved. DHS was involved, and I was trying to do the UA hotline. I was trying to get clean pee to try to go to biomed and have a clean UA. I did it once, and after that, I just said, F it. I couldn't do it. It was too much stress to try to do that. I just quit calling the hotline. And then Tom Clark took over my case. And after I went to court and got entered into drug court, they told me to go observe drug court. And Tom Clark became my caseworker. And I remember going, what the hell is drug court? I was like, oh my goodness, okay. I thought that I was just going to go to get it. It was just my only charge I ever had on my record. and I thought that I would just be on probation. But they sent me to drug court, and I observed drug court for like, I don't know, it felt like 2 months. It might have been less than that. But the whole time that I was in drug court for the first couple months observing, I never did any of my meetings that I was supposed to do. I never went to groups. I never UA'd. They wanted to kick me out. Tom was like, no, let her stay. Just kept fighting for me to stay. And they did. And one day I didn't show up to drug court, and they put a warrant out for my arrest. And I would show up to drug court high and drunk, and every single time I went, I couldn't even sit still. I couldn't even look at anybody. It took everything out of me just to sit there for 2 hours. I thought I was going to be arrested. I didn't know. All I could think about was leaving and going to the bar and drinking and doing some more drugs. Just let me out one more time so I can go get high one more time. It was every time I was there. And one time I didn't go to drug court, and they put a warrant out for my arrest. So I went to turn myself in, and the warrant wasn't active. So I left. And then I called my probation officer at the time. I think it was Tyler. And he told me to go back. It's going to be active, or wait a couple days. So those last couple days of me getting high and drinking were completely awful. It was no fun at all. I knew I was going to be in big trouble. I still had my girls. They were at Bob's house, and I could see them anytime I wanted to. But let's see what happened. I turned myself in, and I thought I was going to be, released the same night. But the judge put a hold on me. He said he wanted to talk to me, the drug court judge. So I was in there. I turned myself in on a Tuesday. I was in there till Friday. Then I went to drug court in shackles and cuffs and really sick, coming down off all these drugs and opiates. And then Tom told me that he took my girls away. So, and then the judge put me back in jail, and he said I could be released that Monday to stay the weekend, and I could be released to Tom. And Tom is a really great guy. He's a great guy, and he found a inpatient place in Portland called Shepherd's Door through the Portland Rescue Mission that takes women and children. So he asked me if I would go, and I said absolutely. I want to go. I want to be with my kids. And but I had to interview for it and everything. And I had to stay clean, and I had a whole month before I could go. But I managed to stay clean. I stayed clean, and I got accepted to go there. And I got reunited with my daughters. We went to Shepherd's Door. It was a 35-day blackout period there. There's no cell phones. There's no TV. You don't have visitors. There's no methadone or nothing like that there. It was really, really, really hard. There's no smoking or anything. But I didn't care. I wanted to be with my daughters, and so I decided, that was it. That was like my breaking point. When I took my girls, I was like, that's it, I'm done. And let's see. So we stayed at Shepherd's Door for 4 months. It was a great experience. I accepted God into my life during that time. I was supposed to be there for a whole year, but I left after 4 months because I wanted to come finish drug court. I knew that I still had to do drug court no matter how long I was going to be there. And so when I came back to Salem, I was told that I had to go to the Shelley house, and I couldn't have my kids there. So I had to stay at the Shelley house for like, I don't know how long I was there, like 3 months, maybe 4 months, while my daughters were in Portland with their grandma. So we got separated after being in a little room together for 4 months and being so close, we got separated again. But they were with family and they were well taken care of, and I still got to see them. And while I was at the Shelley house, I interviewed for Oxford houses, and I got put on the waiting list for St. Francis and for New Options. Debbie Hall called me one day and said there was an opening. So the girls and I moved in there. And we were there for like 3 or 4 months. And I love New Options. It was a great place. I really did. But I got a job. I got my first job in like 12 years, working at a deli. I got into mental health counseling at Bridgeway, which I'm still in. I've been mental health counseling for like 6 or 8 months now, and I'm going to continue that. And I got an apartment with the girls. It's just the girls and I. I got a car, and I got a second job, and I graduated from treatment. And the day after I graduated from treatment, I got approved to see my son. I haven't seen him in 18 months because of being on probation. You're not allowed to ever having meth or any kind of drug charges. They said I wouldn't be able to see him for 5 years. But I got a letter from drug court saying how good I was doing, and they said that I could see him, so I went and saw him the same day. So it was really nice. And I was able to pay off all my court fines and my probation fees, and I should be graduating from drug court soon. And now I have boundaries. I had no boundaries before. I didn't know what they were, you know. I let people just walk all over me, do whatever they wanted to do to me, and there's nothing I could do about it, is what it felt like. But, you know, I'm 40 years old, and I have boundaries now, finally. And I love my life today, and for the first time, I actually feel normal. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Okay.